North Korea is promising to launch a new spy satellite as soon as possible after the country's first attempt ended in failure earlier today. It malfunctioned and plunged into the sea shortly after taking off, triggering emergency alerts and brief evacuation warnings in parts of the South Korea and Japan. Both countries and the U.S. have condemned the launch as a violation of the UN Security Council resolutions. So following the latest from Tokyo, Japan, is CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer. So let's just sort of start off a couple of things. Do we know what went wrong and why this is a satellite? And I think people might not understand why this would be a violation of the UN Security Council resolutions.
Well, let's start with the Security Council resolutions. Basically, North Korea is prohibited, technically, from firing things like rockets and missiles. So that takes care of a satellite launch in the sense that it requires a rocket to get into orbit, a multi-stage rocket. And North Korea said that the second stage of that rocket ignited too early and ruined the flight, so the whole thing just splashed down into the Yellow Sea shortly after takeoff. As you mentioned, the North Korea, undaunted, announced it was going to try again, even though, or maybe because of its really dismal record in these things. Since 1998, Pyongyang has launched 5 satellites. 3 of them failed right away, and 2 did make it into orbit, but Western experts say they don't appear to be working. So net zero for North Korea in satellite orbits.
Right. I mean, one can sort of figure out why they would want a spy satellite. But I wonder if, in terms of, what we know about their technology, which I'm sure is very limited, what they might be doing with a spy satellite in this area.
They've been pretty open about it. In short, it's to keep an eye on U.S. and South Korean military operations, so to do surveillance. But specifically in the event of a war, it would be useful to help identify targets for some of its missiles, which we now know could be nuclear tipped by then.
So then residents in South Korea and Japan, they got a bit of a rude awakening. Can you tell us a little bit about, just what happened in those 2 areas of the world when this happened?
Yeah, millions of people jolted awake this morning. The actual launch occurred at 6:27, and it only took the military 2 minutes to get that alert out. So it would have been very early in the rocket's flight, but they would have been able to see it was heading south out over the Yellow Sea. And so people in the southernmost islands of Okinawa in Japan, which does lie south and a little east of the launch site, heard sirens, and they got texts on their phones, warnings to take shelter. They then got the all clear about half an hour later, when it was when the military would have known that the rocket had exploded and was safely in the sea. Now, people in Seoul, similar rude awakening, a so-called wartime warning, air raid sirens, messages on their phones telling them to take shelter underground. But actually, Seoul was never in danger. And the city had to apologize and say, look, we're sorry, that was a mistake. A lot of annoyed people in Seoul today.
Oh, I bet. And I imagine as soon as, the debris sort of hit the water, there was a race to recover whatever could be recovered, probably from both South and North Korea.
Well, North Korea, maybe not so much, because they would have been quite far away. But it turns out that the U.S. and the South Korean military just happened to be conducting salvage exercises in the area. Now, that's either amazing luck or it was some very clever planning, given North Korea's, launch record for satellites. Anyway, less than 2 hours later, after the missile had crashed, sailors aboard naval vessels sent pictures of themselves pulling pieces out of the sea. In what North Korea told us about the launch, launch, they suggested they'd used a new type of rocket. So analysts are going to be very keen to have a look at that. We don't know whether the satellite payload was destroyed, but if the Navy manages to get pieces of that, it will be of huge interest as well, because of course the Western military forces, specifically the US and South Korea, will want to see what sorts of surveillance devices were on it, how good they are, what kind of detail they can see.
All right, Elizabeth Palmer, thank you very much.